The silence that had settled inside the elevator weighed down like a heavy drag as the space descended downward into a pitch-black abyss to the 96th basement floor.
You pressed it?
I did. I had chosen the option that led to the distant, unfathomable depths of the urban legend. It would be a lie to say I didn't hesitate. I still don't have the confidence to face the dream incubator I emerged from and remain sane, but, in other words, aside from that, I'm not afraid. Right now, I'm in a state where I can't feel fear. If, as Brown said, my emotions will gradually return just like my rationality did, then eventually, every time I explore the basement levels of this main building's Euphemism Research Institute, I'll be racked with terror. It might be better to understand what I can before that happens. A sort of vaccine.
Ah, a technique for eliminating fear through repetition.
The host said.
A classic and proven learning method. However, there's an entirely unpredictable variable beside you.
Ho Yuan.
That, too, is part of the charm of live broadcast, I suppose.
The host continued.
But if it's uncomfortable, why not just leave him behind? If you need the host's assistance, I can lend a hand.
No, for now I'm bringing him along. The host said. That employee ID badge he's wearing is bothering me. The ID badge hanging from Ho Yuan's neck, an employee badge from Euphemism Research Institute. I glanced at it again. To my surprise, I had already seen something just like it before. In the underground dream incubation room with the prototype incubator. The dead employee there had it. Euphemism researcher. The part where euphemism was written had been roughly scratched out with a pen. I used it to activate the incubator. It's probably still stuck in that incubator even now, unless someone else has taken it. Even if so, I'm not sure I'd be able to retrieve it. At any rate, it wouldn't hurt to observe what effect wearing that employee ID might have in the context of this Euphemism Research Institute urban legend. Ho Yuan, catching my eye, dropped the slight look of surprise he had when I pressed the button without hesitation and smiled again. His face was still completely busted.
You surprised me, Norunim. You're very brave. With that kind of courage, I'm sure you'll be a great explorer, too. I'll do my best to follow along.
What a truly aggravating bastard. I ignored his comment. The negative numbers ticking rapidly downward on the elevator display finally stopped at the destination, B96. Ding, with the same cheerful chime, the doors opened, and a peaceful corridor appeared. From the offices, the sound of people occasionally laughing or typing lightly on keyboards could be heard, and that was it. As if we'd returned to the second basement level, utterly normal, which made it even more bizarre. This can't be right.
Norunim? Norunim, aren't you getting off? It's just a regular office hallway. Don't tell me. Are you scared? If you're really that scared, cover your eyes. I'll give you a gentle little shove.
A warning appeared. First warning for disruption of operations intentional. Warnings accumulated. 1 out of 2 before disciplinary action.
But I was just trying to help. That's really sad.
Sigh.
And I wonder if you'll even be able to carry out the disciplinary action properly. You failed earlier, didn't you?
A message appeared. Proof of successful disciplinary action. Check your own left cheek. Only then did he go quiet. Please shut your mouth already. How can his face be half-pulped and still act like this? In any case, I stepped forward cautiously, watching the floor dust and the presence near the office doors. I exited the elevator. Tap, tap. I muffled my footsteps as much as possible. Even without fear, I had vigilance. I cloaked myself in thick performance. There's definitely something here. I walked slowly to the end of the corridor. But along the peaceful corridor of the Euphemism Research Institute, bathed in a twilight glow, there was nothing out of the ordinary. Just a quiet office hallway.
That's really strange, isn't it?
I reached for the doorknob of the most silent office.
Shall we try going in that office? But inside there might be...
I hear a music box playing. Chongdong and I turned our heads at the same time, but no one had spoken to us. Instead, a single door stood wide open at the far end next to the elevator, the emergency exit. Under the emergency light, something was emerging into the corridor from deep within the pitch-dark stairwell. Windowless and hollow, fire. Flames burst forth from the emergency staircase into the office. A loud alarm began to wail throughout the hallway. And then all the office doors opened. I immediately pressed myself against the wall. Past me, Chongdong flattened himself along the corner. A multitude of presences came flooding out from the offices. Inhabitants of the Yuko Research Lab, invisible to explorers.
Ordinarily, during a fire, the basic safety protocol is to evacuate using the stairs,
the host said.
However, this time, that path has become a corridor of death.
Exactly. You could feel the tremors of footsteps made by those now barred from reaching the emergency exit. Disoriented, frightened, panicked, one of them must have tried to pry open a window. There was a creaking sound from a window frame. Another, perhaps boldly, ran into the restroom to fetch water. The faucet clicked on. But the majority made an instinctive choice.
Oh, they're running for the elevator,
the host exclaimed. Ding! The elevator doors opened and there was a dull thud as human bodies slammed into its interior. A warning tone blared, followed by the elevator's automated announcement.
Maximum occupancy exceeded. Maximum occupancy exceeded.
I wondered where could that possibly take them. No, the scene didn't even look like they would be able to depart safely. The door wouldn't close. Even without seeing it, I could imagine it. Researchers from the Yuko research lab crowding into the elevator, getting caught in the door, the weight exceeding the limit and setting off the warning, eventually suffocating in place or burning to death in the flames. And then I realized I didn't need to imagine it at all, Thud. It started with one corpse, but with each passing moment they multiplied exponentially, 2, 5, 8, 15. Dead researchers from the Yuko research lab. They began to fill the elevator and the corridor. The dead were classified as objects, and the corpses of the Yuko research lab entities, long recorded in exploration logs as terrifying unknown anomalies capable of causing disappearance upon contact, now looked like ordinary people. Broken fingernails, scraping at the elevator doors, disheveled hair, one collapsing with another in the hallway, as they tried to shield each other with lab coats both consumed by fire, until the very last one, until death.
Mr. Deer, you see them, don't you? You can see them now.
Chongdong frowned slightly, smiling with what seemed like pity.
Tragic, isn't it? But congratulations, you chose a good floor. The 96th should be much easier to navigate now.
I realized I had just recovered another emotion. Revulsion. In a body no longer affected by toxic gas or extreme heat, I stood still and endured that revulsion, together with the equally unscathed counselor from the Fox counseling office. Shh! The sprinklers finally activated too late. Strangely, black water came pouring down. It reeked of fresh blood, iron brine. The flames in the corridor subsided slightly as they were soaked by the black liquid, and a completely charred office door dropped into the hallway. The smoke lightened just a little. Cough. Chongdong coughed, deliberately it seemed. But if you turned your head, you'd see not a single hair on his head had been singed. It was impossible to believe he'd just been breathing toxic smoke in the midst of a firestorm. I asked the ghost story a question. The sounds made by those trying to evacuate.
Sorry, but my hearing's not great. Also, I think they're all dead now.
A second warning appeared. Non-cooperation. Accumulated warnings, 2 out of 1 to disciplinary action.
You're so cruel.
Do what you want. I peeled myself off the wall and stepped into the scene of the Yuko Research Lab incident. Squelch, a wet crunch came from beneath the corridor floor.
Whew, to think my friend's feet are touching such a filthy surface,
the host said. It doesn't matter. I'm not scared. Where should I start? I looked upon the burning Yuko research lab, glass shattered, walls scorched, the inside of the office now laid bare like a single open space. That's why it came into view immediately. Over there, beyond the collapsed, broken right wall, that transparent cylindrical device. In the sealed room now exposed, the dream incubator. The dream incubator is here. I had to confirm it. I think I did, but it's difficult because my body is inside the incubator.
Mr. Deer?
Deer.
That doesn't look like the one you were incubated in.
Ah.
It's broken.
I stumbled and straightened myself. At some point, I had nearly collapsed to the floor. Next to me, Chongdong was brushing ash from his hair and adjusting his clothing. He leaned down kindly and extended a hand to me.
You've sat down. You must have a lot on your mind.
I rose without taking his hand. Chongdong looked at me with an expression of disappointment, but I already knew he felt no such emotion. Instead, he glanced at the flames slowly spreading again through the corridor and asked,
Were you worried the fire might ride the elevator and spread to other floors?
Denial. No, I hadn't worried about that. From the start, the floors weren't even connected because the reason was separate time zones. Do you remember? The Yuko Research Lab has identical layouts on every floor. So identical, in fact, that even scratches on the wall matched. The guard captain had mentioned this too, and at that time he had a theory. Same offices, same structure, even down to the marks. So it is the same place, but it kind of feels like each one's from a different time?
So you knew that much already?
No, actually I didn't stop there. I built a hypothesis on that testimony even before entering.
Indeed,
the host said. If all these underground levels were reflections of different time periods within the same space, and if that space was part of the Yuko research lab, then descending deeper wouldn't just mean the landscape became more grotesque. It would mean descending into the lab's most important moments.
Oh,
The host said, because there was a pattern, the upper floors. The Yuko research lab here is sparsely populated or slightly outside of working hours. Lunch break, vacation season, after hours. But as you go lower, work-related keywords start to appear. By the mid-levels, even the nuance shifts. Celebrations, meetings, the population density starts increasing. So then what about the lower deep floors? Looking at the trend, the answer becomes clear. You'll encounter moments even more directly tied to work-intense ones. Critical incidents from the Yuko research lab, which means it's possible to make a similar guess about this situation.
That this fire is a key incident related to that toy shop's work.
The host said.
Is that what you're saying, friend?
The host asked. That's right. And we already know well enough what the Yuko research lab was working on. The development of play-based ghost story products. A place like that being devastated by an ordinary fire was strange from the start, so maybe this fire wasn't natural at all, but a ghost story in and of itself. A cataclysm so monumental it determined the lab's fate. And thinking back to the experiment log that summoned me here, this must have been the final research project of the Yuko research lab. There's a strong chance it's tied directly to the reason I was called. I need to remember this. I took a deep mental breath and slowly stepped toward the broken dream incubator, and reached out for the place I remembered. The card key registration slot on the incubator. Click. A card key slid out from the slot, and a perfectly intact employee ID began to emerge. Chongdong, the executive who likely knows more about Jang Hyowoon than anyone else in this company.
I figured you must have a lot of questions,
he said. Yet an untrustworthy person smiles at me. In this hallway turned into a ghost story, charred to ruin with flame and smoke, piled with corpses. He asks me if I have anything I want to ask. In that case, I can approach it this way. I conjured smoke. I proposed a one-on-one Q&A ritual. Chongdong said. Conditions: 2 participants. Questions and answers alternate in order. One must answer the other's question truthfully. If a question cannot be answered, one must verbally declare, unable to answer, and then receive the next question. A response may not be delayed more than 96 seconds.
How amusing, meaninglessly specific rules. It has a faintly ritualistic feel to it,
Cheongdong said. That was intentional, because this was something I was doing with a being that isn't human, and besides, he must have questions for me too. When formalized like this, as a structured exchange of questions, he wouldn't be able to resist. And I added, if one intentionally conceals the truth during the ritual, they will be punished.
Haha, are you copying me now?
Yes, now you get to feel what it's like. Chongdong laughed a few times, then answered coolly.
But I like it.
Yet a faint glimmer crossed his eyes.
It's fair after all. I could place a taboo seal to enforce punishment, but I won't. I want to trust you, Mr. Deer.
A lie. He's only saying that because he knows he can't cast it so easily. He tried placing a taboo on me and got hit for it, but it didn't matter. We agreed to the one-on-one Q&A ritual. From that moment, the ritual commenced. Chongdong clapped.
All right then, since it was your proposal, I'll let you go first, Mr. Deer.
And so, on the 96th underground floor, in the bizarre fire site of the Yuko research lab, 2 ghost stories began exchanging questions and answers.
Friend, what truth do you want to know first?
I asked. I started with the most central one.
Tell me everything you know about Jang Hyowoon.
Chongdong replied.
You're starting with quite a broad one, Mr. Deer. Here's what I know. Male 20s, no family. Grew up in a religious social welfare facility in the countryside. 3 years ago, the entire facility burned down in a fire, and he was the sole survivor.
That matched the testimony I once heard from the contaminated Jang Hyowoon.
So his wish is probably related to that fire. Maybe to bring back the dead or to erase the fire altogether.
Accurate. Did he look into it more thoroughly when selecting him as a spy?
Well then, it's my turn now, Mr. Deer.
Chongdong looked at me.
If you already knew the information I just shared, who did you hear it from? Specifically, what kind of being?
I answered.
Employee of Flower Golden Resort Bison.
Ah, I thought so.
The rekindled flames cast Chongdong's face into silhouette.
I read about the story in the field team's report about someone who died in a theme park and came back to life as a resort staff member, but to think you actually heard that directly. So not only did he help you with resurrection, it seems you're bound to him now, Mr. Deer.
Who?
That's not a question. That's a certainty. You really are human, Mr. Deer, making choices you'll regret.
It was an ominous thing to say, but there was a faint air of remorse in it. I didn't respond with anger. I simply looked at Chongdong.
Anyway, you're curious about the 3 other Hee-woons with different surnames, right? I'm curious, too. Maybe we can work it out through this exchange. Shall we continue?
Without hesitation, I asked the next question.
Tell me everything you know about the new employee Kim Hee-woon.
This is where things get a little interesting.
Interesting?
He has the exact same background as Jang Hae-woon. Male, no family. Raised in a rural religious welfare facility. Fire trauma. To call it similar circumstances is a stretch. Keywords are too identical, almost as if they were assigned the same role in a game.
The pieces start to come together in my mind.
Then it's my turn to ask, Mr. Deer, did you distribute the wish tickets you received to other Bakelmong employees who infiltrated the SDR with you? Specifically, to whom and how many?
I answered.
2 bottles to Staffer Mountain Goat, with instructions to deliver them later to Staffer Bison.
I figured.
Wait, figured? That sounded like he already knew. No way, I asked.
Have you tracked the usage history of the 3 wish tickets?
Oh, I wouldn't say tracked, more like I just know. The wish tickets I gave you were actually from my personal collection, so I added a little touch to them, just enough to know whether they've been used.
Chongdong smiled.
And all 3 of the tickets I gave you, Mr. Deer, have now been used. One of them was yours, right?
Which meant even the 2 that went to Ko Yongin had been used. A prickling chill ran down my back. Ko Yongin used both of them. If they weren't stolen, no, the odds of theft were low. Ko Yongin is the type to handle danger carefully, and he certainly wasn't someone who would use Jang Hae-woon's wish ticket recklessly. Which meant most likely he used them for Jang Hae-woon. But then, why was the Jang Hae-woon I saw still the same?
Then we can make an intriguing guess here. Did someone make a mistake when wishing?
Chongdong smiled with mock pity.
After 6 months passed with poor Bison showing no signs of recovery from contamination, he must have panicked and used the tickets at will. But perhaps, due to some error, it wasn't Jang Hae-woon who was restored, but Kim Hae-woon who appeared in this world instead, fulfilling the wish.
A chilling theory. In other words, if Ko Yongin wished something like, "Please let Hae-woon live as a person in this world," then, instead of bringing the contaminated Jang Hae-woon back to humanity, the wish could have created someone in the world who Ko Yongin could accept as Hae-woon. Wish tickets are personally omnipotent, so such a bizarre ghost story-like outcome is entirely plausible. I was skeptical and reserved judgment. There's a piece that doesn't fit. The person on this Yukho Research Lab employee ID. Yukho researcher Lee Hee-woon. This Lee Hee-woon stands apart. He seems to be someone who existed long ago in the original Yukho Research Lab. Unrelated to the wish tickets that were used just now, there's definitely something else going on. Hee-woon, Hee-woon, Hee-woon. It gives me an uncanny feeling. Even the fire, keyword overlaps. Someone whose entire facility burned down, leaving them the only survivor. Given the current state of this 96th underground floor, this Yukho researcher fits that description too, doesn't he? How did he come to share such a similar background with Jang Hae-woon? Wait a second. No, that's backwards. If we think chronologically, then it's Jang Hae-woon and Kim Hae-woon who came to resemble this Yukho researcher's background. Russell.
Mr. Deer, did you see it?
I did, just now. The pile of corpses moved. No, more precisely, it looked like the heap in front of the elevator had shifted, because something buried underneath it moved. Who's there?
So there was still a living entity left. Haha.
A staff member of the Yukho Research Lab had recognized us. Something unseen, something unheard, pushed through the pile of corpses and rose. Its body twisted as it turned to face the intruders who did not belong in this time and space. The corridor began to warp. Flickering distortions beyond the offices, space itself wavered and jumbled within my field of vision. Through the blinking haze, something began to take shape. A twisted lower body in a researcher's lab coat, revealing itself at last, unseen until now. Who's there? Who is it? Who is it? Is it me too? Help me, help, please help. Is someone there? You're here, right? Someone's here, right here, right here, someone here. You are in this place. My senses were being pulled in, dragged into some time-space projected onto the 96th underground floor. And then I understood. If I get caught, I'll disappear.
Quite the rough invitation. Seems there's no need to decline politely, friend.
I slipped Lee Hae-woon's employee ID into my pocket. Then, confirming the movement of the unseen being pushing through the corpse pile, at the far end of the corridor, I used the smoke to launch forward like a bullet toward the elevator, and grabbed Shandong by the scruff of the neck, throwing him upward. His body arsed through the air, landing atop the corpses in the right elevator with a crushing impact. At the same moment, I arrived at the elevator myself. Securing space between the doors, Shandong and I shoved the corpses wedged in the elevator door out into the hallway, as much as we could, just enough for the doors to close. Hurry. Fortunately, the elevator, already screaming a warning from prolonged forced door opening, closed automatically the moment the gap cleared, without the need to press the button. Ding. Between the closing doors, I saw the surviving entity collapse, having spent the last of its strength. It too became a corpse, inside the elevator. It was once again just Shandong and me, along with a dozen or so researcher corpses.
You really didn't have to help me, you know, but I'll accept the sentiment anyway. Thank you, Mr. Deer.
I could reproduce the hypothetical outcome if I hadn't helped immediately.
Please shut up before I open the doors and throw you back out.
At last some peace and quiet. I looked at the elevator's control panel. This was the reason the Yukho research lab had been explorable by so many security teams. When using the right elevator, you could always return to the first basement main building, regardless of which floor you were on. I pressed B1, ding. With a bright retro chime, the elevator began to ascend, toward reality. And as it did, the corpses filling the elevator began to disintegrate and vanish, like time itself was dissolving them.
Looks like we can't bring the bodies up with us? Ah, I suppose it's because we're no longer in darkness.
Shandong, who'd been standing nonchalantly on a dead researcher's shoulder blade, checked to see whether his shoes had gotten dirty. My head throbbed. Still, I had to confirm something, I asked.
Will you report that we explored together to HQ?
You mean whether I'll reveal that we explored together? How about this? Let's just say we teamed up briefly, but exclude the part about going to the 96th floor.
I agreed. Shandong smiled brightly and said,
Then it's my turn to ask a question.
What?
That counted as a question too, didn't it? Right?
I could feel it in his tone. He's not just trying to push my buttons. It felt strangely calculated, as if every question until now had been asked willingly for the sake of asking the next one. I could refuse if I really wanted to avoid trouble, but I nodded.
Yes. Go ahead.
Shandong smiled like a painting, but before I could say anything else, he opened his mouth quickly as if he wanted the answer before I could interrupt. It was,
What kind of place is Saekwang's special city? Please tell me everything you know.
the ghost story I'd been asked to extract from Estraw. I met Shandong's eyes, and in them I saw something unsettlingly still sunken. I sent the smoke, I answered.
Saekwang's special city is a deleted region of Korea, a population that has been censored out of existence. Its location is a 552 square kilometer area near the border between Chungcheong and Gyeonggi provinces. As of now, no one can perceive this region through natural means. In a way, it's a cliché space, especially within the concept of a ghost story management wiki, also known as the final resort. Some ghost stories become so uncontrollably harmful, so many people die, that it's determined they cannot be contained or ended by peaceful means. And so, the government approves a drastic and shocking countermeasure. Due to a level extermination class supernatural disaster with mass casualties, the region is sealed off to prevent further loss. Rescue attempts and outside access are completely cut off. Nationwide memory erasure is authorized. Perceptual blackout is approved. And yet the conclusion is that Saekwang's special city still exists in Korea.
Shandong's lips parted.
How do you nan?
He was unable to answer. It was my turn to ask a question.
Ask me anything.
I said. In that case, I asked.
Why are you interested in Saekwang's special city?
Silence dragged on. I expected a response of, unable to answer, but an unexpected answer came instead.
I left something behind in Saekwang's special city.
Left something behind. That meant he'd once been in Saekwang. Was this executive originally from Saekwang? Maybe that's why Bakelmong had pushed so obsessively to assign personnel to that project. So that's how it was. Hearing a private story that wasn't written anywhere in the wiki gave me a strange feeling. Ding, a chime announced their arrival. At that moment, the elevator reached its destination, B1. Beyond the elevator doors, now returned to a space of reality, I could hear the ambient noise of the Bakelmong headquarters, but then,
Mr. Deer, now that you've heard, it's my turn to.
I recommended that we temporarily suspend the conversation. I looked at the door, a person standing at the elevator entrance. The doors opened, and standing before me.
Hello, sir.
It was the new employee, Kim Hee-woon.
I've come back.
The one waiting for me in front of the elevator. New employee Kim Hee-woon.
Sir?
I cannot recognize human faces. They appear like melting mosaics, and their voices are no easier to distinguish, like a degraded recordings from an old radio. So, while I can't tell how much this new employee Kim Ha-woon standing at the elevator resembles the Jang Ha-woon I once knew, one thing is certain, something's off. This is an abnormal situation, and the person who knows that even better than I do is standing beside me, a director of this company.
Hello? You must be the new recruit for the field exploration team.
Yes, my name is Kim Hee-woon.
I see, but how did you get in here?
Sorry?
You're assigned to the field exploration team, right? Then you shouldn't be able to enter this security team zone at will. I was wondering how you came to be here.
Silence.
And how did you find this elevator? For you to know that someone was here.
Director Ho pointed at me.
How could you have known that?
His mouth opens.
I imitated them.
What?
I impersonated the security team to get in, and impersonated the research team to find your location.
Imitated, a sense of foreboding creeps in. A smile spreads across the face of Kim Hee-woon, still obscured.
Now, but I've already achieved my goal for joining the company, so I don't mind being fired for this.
And then he looks at me.
Sir.
The goal of his employment.
Me. Was to find someone.
Me.
You don't need to worry. There wasn't any disturbance. I only came to formally introduce myself, and to say thank you.
Then Kim Hee-woon bowed deeply toward me.
Thank you for saving us. Thanks to you, the people at the facility all survived.
Wait a second.
Because of you, Jang Hee-woon's wish came true.
What does that mean?
It seemed my guess was wrong, Noru Nim.
I realized it. Both wish tickets that were passed to Ko Yongon had been used. He didn't use the wish ticket to save Jang Ha-woon. Someone as clever and calm as him wouldn't have made such a clumsy wish. If anything, he would have been more anxious just having the wish tickets in his possession, because someone could always steal them. And perhaps he was informed that the SDRA was already doing its best to stabilize Jang Ha-woon's condition, but that there was no telling when he'd recover completely. In that case, it would make more sense to preemptively use one of the tickets on behalf of Jang Ha-woon before something went wrong. Since recovery from contamination had precedent, like in the security team, it could be entrusted to the SDRA. Instead, he must have made a real wish. Like this, please grant Jang Ha-woon's wish. And Jang Hee-woon's wish was to save his precious family. And right before my eyes, I now saw the wish of Jang Hee-woon fulfilled. A member of that family by the name Kim Hae-woon. The people from the religious social welfare facility in the countryside, where the orphan Jang Ha-woon had grown up, destroyed in a fire.
Fascinating situation, isn't it, my friend?
The voice transmitted.
But even more curious. How does this man know that his friend gave away a wish ticket? And doesn't the phrase, "I imitated them," seem strangely vague to you?
That part I might have an idea. A chill creeps up my spine. An ominous sensation tells me the answer as a theory rises in my mind like a shock. I narrow it down question by question relationship with Jang Ha-woon.
We're family, raised together in the same facility. Out of 8 of us, 7 died in the fire.
Question, why do you share the same name?
At the facility, all residents living together were given the same name. Since our surnames were different, we shared our given names, because we were family.
Question, do you share any family rules?
We didn't really have rules, but we received the same education, ate the same food, and slept in the same room, so that we could live up to the name Hee-woon equally, to have the same experiences.
Question, example of a lifestyle befitting the name Hae-woon.
Oh, it wasn't difficult. For example, sleeping late and waking up late. Reading poetry more than twice a week. Developing a fear of blood. Starting middle school a year early. And dropping out of high school.
And?
Never introducing ourselves by name if we meet a shaman or a religious figure.
Final question. Question, name of the facility.
Oh, that place.
And I already knew the answer. In this world, there were countless bizarre organizations, but only one was insane enough to run an orphanage like this.
It's called the Love Paradise Shelter.
Love Paradise.
Are you familiar with it?
I am. A rather well-known cult in South Korea within this universe. I'd seen that name once before at the SDRA. Human life is full of fear, but you need not be afraid any longer. The lover of paradise is waiting to protect and love you. Come to Love Paradise. When we handled the person in red by Exit 4. Case with the Baco team. At my suggestion, we had field agents pretend to be cult recruiters using that very phrase. It was a parody of that group. But for me, something even clearer comes to mind. That cult had its own page in the Dark Exploration Records wiki. Love Paradise, a fringe religion that gained traction in early 2000 Korea within the Dark Exploration Records universe. It spread with slogans like, "You will meet your ideal partner," or "We will create your ideal lover," appealing to the youth with seductive promises and viral marketing across early internet platforms. In truth, it was a pseudo-religious cult that used unethical and ritualistic means to forcibly reshape followers' lives, turning them into suitable vessels for the so-called lover of paradise. And the theory that this process influenced the Mimicker sect had been popular, and eventually the Mimicker sect was confirmed as the parent organization. That facility belonged to the Mimicker sect. Jang Hee-woon had grown up in one of their orphanages, and he'd joined Baekilmong Corporation to save the fellow cult survivors he called his family. Targets of the same ritual. At this point it became clear how the Yukho Research Lab's Lee Ha-woon was connected. That Ha-woon was the ritual's intended target. If the lover of paradise was a real person, then the Mimicker sect might attempt to hijack their narrative by imitating them through ritual. An act of narrative theft to become a meaningful being in this world, aligning with the cult's doctrine. They were raising someone to imitate Lee Ha-woon and steal the role of that researcher. These personal stories, never recorded in the Dark Exploration Records, begin surrounding me like whispers from the dead. It feels like a cold sweat is sliding down my spine in the shape of dread itself.
So they mimic someone's life twist by twist, and craft a similar story to replicate that identity.
The voice observed.
It's like spiritual assembly line manufacturing, mass-producing stories the way capitalism forges machine parts, as if the same process should yield the same product.
And one such product now stands before us, a replica crafted in imitation of Lee Hee-woon. Kim Hee-woon lowers his head.
The truth is I lied when I said I came just to introduce myself. Now, I came to ask you for something desperately.
He speaks with utmost politeness, an absurd request.
Now, just like you took in Jang Hee-woon, could you take in all of us too? Because we can tell, we're all Hee-woons, and Jang Hee-woon is happy under your care, isn't he?
A headache begins to throb behind my eyes. Reason for this request.
We have nowhere else to return to.
His voice softens.
Our facility burned down, and we can't go to any other Love Paradise shelter. We can't live the way we used to.
I understood, even without him saying it. The fire. That fire had been part of the ritual meant to recreate the researcher's narrative from Yukho Lab. Jang Ha-woon, who survived a large fire at his facility, had a complete narrative. But this man had been a discard, one of the raw materials.
Please, give us the same name Jang Hee-woon received. If you do that, we can be the same person. That's how we were raised.
His voice trembles with urgency.
Doesn't it feel symbolic that Jang Hee-woon was the first, like an eldest son, given the surname Jang? Then we could all keep...
I raised my hand. Kim Hee-woon quickly bowed his head, as if expecting it to be a blessing. But smoke rose from my palm. Rejection.
What?
Better choices. Break free from Lee Ha-woon's life. Live your own life.
What? But I...
From beside the elevator, I hear Director Ho stifle a laugh, a small snort, as if he just heard a ridiculous proposal, and then...
Now, I already received the power of the Mimicker to come here, so at this point I can't even escape.
Are you unhappy?
Shh. Kim Hee-woon is cut in two. Right before my eyes, his body splits down the middle, his upper torso slumping diagonally, landing on the floor with a wet splatter. Blood spreads. It soaks the tips of my shoes. And only then, for the first time, am I able to see Kim Hee-woon's face. Because in death he was no longer human. The lifeless face of a man in his 20s, somewhat dark, with a gentle expression, bore an uncanny resemblance to Jang Hee-woon. It was frozen mid-expression, stained with both hope and despair.
Now you'll be happy forever. Congratulations.
And then it dawns on me. The wish ticket is a personal omnipotence, which means rather than transporting Ko Young-gyun or Jang Hee-woon into another world, the fact that 7 people were simply revived outright tells me everything I need to know. From the start, the system had judged that this wish would not significantly affect the world at large, because they're going to die again soon anyway.
Hi there.
Oop. I looked up. Standing there, drenched in Kim Hee-woon's blood, smiling serenely, was a delicate-looking youth. He was even wearing a tattered old-school uniform. But then the emergency broadcast began to play throughout the facility, revealing his true identity. An emergency broadcast began to play. Evacuation alert. High-risk intruder containment failed. Evacuation alert. High-risk intruder containment failed. Evacuation alert. High-risk intruder containment failed. And I understand. Kim Hee-woon said he entered by imitating others. He said he'd received the power of the mimicker. That's not something you could gain unless you were raised in one of the ritual facilities disguised as new religions, operated by the lowest ranks of the mimicker sect, which meant only one thing: he had help.
Wow, you look pretty cool.
This boy, who had probably swallowed a few dozen fragments of holy scriptures and willingly transcended human limits to become something closer to an urban legend than a person, was a follower of Name-Nim.
Do you know Name-Nim by any chance?
A mimicker sect executive was now standing in front of me, and judging from his speech, his appearance, and his behavior, the sect. This wasn't the mimicker church. It was the Happy Ending sect, the most altruistic faction within the mimicker sect. Revered by Name-Nim, they aim to grant happy endings to those who are doomed, those who hold no meaning and have no chance of surviving the apocalypse. Their preferred method: death, because the dead can no longer become unhappy.
Even if you don't know, that's okay. Both the fox and the dragon are cool looking. Let's go together.
The elevator we had been riding begins to twist.
Let's serve Name-Nim together, all of us.
Let us serve Name-Nim. Let us serve Name-Nim. Let us serve Name-Nim. Let us serve Name-Nim. Even though my ears are still buried in flesh, the chant echoes. The fanatical tongue of a happy ending sect believer, a faction of the mimicker sect, resonates through the space and shakes the elevator itself. Suddenly, the elevator I'm in has arrived in a different space. A droplet fell. A dark, shadowy room. A basement. A space filled with unfamiliar and ominous air. Damp, chill, moldy wood, a musty scent, and a corpse, Kim Hee-woon's severed body, now somehow neatly arranged and displayed in the darkness of this basement. In a coffin filled with dozens of dried chrysanthemums, sunflowers, and children's origami cranes.
I'm happy now.
Blood drips down the chrysanthemums.
Do you want to be happy too?
The corpse in the coffin moves closer. Terror. The screams of those forgotten and fading. Resignation, the only escape. The final mercy one human can offer another. Death without pain, the end of a narrative.
Do you want to be at peace?
But
you are afraid. The ending of a story. The primal fear of death. Ah, how you wish you hadn't learned. How peaceful it would have been had it been death in ignorance. But now you know. Once chosen, death loses its meaning as happiness. And so for you, there is only one salvation.
Name-Nim.
A light sparkled. The ceiling door of the basement opens. A radiant, majestic light pours in from above.
Name-Nim knows all your stories. Name-Nim is the only answer to the truth of this world. Only his will has meaning in this universe. Let us be watched by him. Let us fully understand and follow his will. Let us become stories worthy of him. Then perhaps he may take pity on what lies within us, perhaps may grow fond of us. And thus, perhaps at last, the rest we've waited for, the happiness we seek, a happy ending that survives even the end of the world, may finally be granted. Happy ending.
As the basement grows even darker and more sinister, beneath the beam of light descending from the ceiling, I see a glimmering scrap of parchment, something I've seen before. A sacred scripture fragment of the mimicker sect, scripture of happy ending chapter. That blank ritual parchment calls out to you, as if begging you to swallow it whole, as if commanding you to conduct the ritual. Turn your existence into scripture. Let your strangeness, your mystery, your unease, your cruelty and fear be transformed into power. The light tugs at you, calling you. The basement grows darker, more oppressive, more unstable. That single radiant beam of light, like a lamp attracting a moth, glistens with temptation. And then, he grunted, I just stood still. So this is how it is.
They're pretty skilled at cult-style gaslighting for potential converts. The use of light, scent, auditory stimulation, classic but rather impressive.
Brown commented, yeah, I guess so. Had I still been in a state where I felt emotions the way I used to, I probably would have been seriously shaken. This really is a near-perfect case of hallucination-induced brainwashing, stabbing right at the root of human fear, and inducing compulsive anxiety through psychological pressure. But most of all, I already know the truth. Name-Nim isn't like that. It's no different from the centipede I faced in Jisun Village. In the end, I was just standing here in this clearly conjured basement, looking at a piece of scripture someone had dragged me into. I could have used my reading ability to escape right away, but I don't think I'll need to, because the person who dragged me here must still be nearby.
Huh? You're not going to write?
Sure enough, something suddenly pops out from behind the coffin that held the corpse. The person responsible for all of this, a figure who clearly seems to be a happy-ending sect executive, casually turns around, brushing the dust off their basement-stained school uniform skirt. The light of Name Nim illuminates the dust particles drifting in the air. Speaking with their back to me, they say,
"This is a really good opportunity, so why won't you write? Why not?"
And then still. From the figure standing straight and tall, only the head turns and looks at me.
"Come with us."
Roll, the head, still attached by a few strands, falls from their back and rolls toward me. A thud sounded as it bumped against my foot, and in the next instant, I was back in the underground corridor of the Bakelmong Corporation's main building. But this time, the basement looked warped. A corridor made of throbbing, pulsing red flesh. Veins from the severed head stretched all the way down the hall. That thing was sucking me in like it had its own gravitational pull.
"Come with us."
The head whispered. There's something inside the head. A dream? I know it instinctively. This is the kind of tale where, the moment you respond, you get pulled in. It seems that the Mimicker sect has now marked both me and Director Ho-Yu one as new candidates for conversion or containment. Phew, so, what should I do? Strange visuals like these no longer shake me too deeply. But maybe I should just wait until the security team arrives. Though really, staying out of anything involving the Mimicker sect is always safest. As for that happy-ending sect member in the school uniform, I feel like I might have read something about them in one of the older exploration records. Although the Mimicker sect is so full of deranged, chaotic characters that just the school uniform alone doesn't narrow it down, I should be able to handle it, and also, they just straight-up killed someone right in front of us. I've made my decision. Subdue them. Even if it fries my brain a little, I'll deal with it. I reached out my hand. That was the moment.
Me, sure.
Something grabs my arm. I turned my head. Ho-Yu one, who'd been riding the elevator with me, was smiling as he answered, to the disembodied head of the Mimicker sect.
Let's go together.
Wait, you answered? A tongue slides out from the head.
"Haha, don't look, haha."
The head swells, swallowing the elevator whole. What's been answered cannot be taken back. I tried to tear free from the one gripping my arm, but my body was already being devoured, everything around me growing distant as I felt myself being transported.
"Oh dear, seems it's too late to ask for help now."
Brown said.
"And oh, tragic news indeed. My friend always said my judgment couldn't be trusted." "Very well. Let's see what happens, shall we?"
Brown added, darkness, to begin with. I never particularly liked the Mimicker sect stories in the Dark Exploration records. Of course, they were popular. Their introduction had clearly marked the turning point when Dark Exploration Records exploded in fame and became a full-fledged IP franchise. But still, I don't know. Too primitive, maybe? They always felt unrestrained. Their fun was mainly built around amplifying the elements that produced victims or deeply unsettled people. And that kind of primal discomfort, what it would feel like to face it in real life. Real life, huh?
Norunim?
I opened my eyes. Interior darkness, Metal and Ho-Yu one.
You're awake! Thank goodness! You probably couldn't even sleep in that body and you lost consciousness.
He reached for my chin.
He crossed the line.
As I clenched his jaw in my grip with increasing pressure.
Norunim!
Ho-Yu one continued speaking.
Don't you want to escape Bakelmong? Director Chong really treats you poorly, doesn't he? But locked up in the isolation chamber, there's no way you'll find a solution.
I tightened my grip. I could hear the bones in his jaw creaking, but Ho-Yu one's smile didn't waver in the slightest, and then...
Sorry I didn't ask you beforehand. The security team was almost here, and my mouth just moved on its own, as an apology.
He made a proposal.
How about I grant you temporary freedom of movement, Norunim? I have intel I need to investigate here. So we can split up. I'll gather information, and you can look for a way to break your contract. And if you feel like it, I'd be grateful for any help.
Intel to investigate. Must be about Saegwong's special city, a reasonable motive. And his words weren't done yet.
Most important of all, none of this violates your employment contract. You're currently accompanying a company director, after all, Norunim.
Ah.
So this all counts as company work. Consider it a kind of overtime. What do you say?
I let go of Ho-Yu one's jaw. Overtime. A separate compensation claim will be submitted.
Of course, I'll make sure you're properly compensated.
The tension between us dissolved like an informal ceasefire. I exhaled and stood up. Feels like walking around with a live grenade. Still, at least now I could mentally file him under troll instead of threat. That was something. And only then did Ho Yu-won and I finally look around properly, assessing the situation.
This place?
A corridor with sparse lighting from flickering bulbs. Its most distinct feature, the structure resembled a bisected cylinder, arched like a tunnel, and it was sealed off. This gray space with no windows was finished in bare concrete.
Doesn't it look like an underground bomb shelter to you?
Exactly. The exposed rusted walls made it feel like a disaster shelter built for evacuation. They just dumped us here after converting us. As I tried to piece together what was happening.
Let us spread happiness.
From the far end of the corridor beyond a corner came a voice, footsteps, a crowd, roughly 100 people moving at once, and voices.
Are they here to welcome new believers?
Soon a line of people rounded the corner, and they were.
Let us share happiness.
Ordinary, smiling, whispering to each other as they walked. So mundane they looked like people you'd see at a weekend park outing. Men and women, young and old, like a casual group outing. But they were carrying something. Grouped in clusters of 5 or 6, they were carefully holding something rather large, and that was.
Let us spread happiness.
Let us share happiness.
Horses. Dozens of dead bodies being carried in their arms. The ones bearing the dead walked right past us, heading down the corridor, seemingly unaware of our presence, obscured by what they were holding. And at the very end of the procession, a familiar face.
Let us share happiness.
The one who converted us. Still dressed in a school uniform, the delicate-looking youth was walking side by side with another boy in identical uniform, like a twin, together, carrying Kim Hye-woon's corpse. He locked eyes with us, flashed a gentle smile, and kept walking.
Shall we follow?
Ho Yu-won, and I trailed them quietly, as we followed that eerie procession to the corridor's end.
Let us spread happiness.
We emerged into a vast open space. It could only be described as an underground bunker square. The space was already filled with coffins.
Let us share happiness.
The crowd placed the corpses into the empty coffins. When finished, the group gathered in a circle, and an elderly man, seemingly the most senior, stepped forward and raised both hands to cradle his head. Then he shouted,
Let us pray for happiness.
Everyone copied the gesture.
Be happy, be happy, be happy.
In a room filled with coffins, countless people lifted their hands above their heads, praying with heartfelt devotion.
Let those born into misfortune find peace through death. Let them be happy.
And with that, I understood where we were. Final ritual site, a sanctuary of the Mimicker sect, structured like an old underground bunker. As it is itself a living ghost story, it has no fixed location in reality. It moves from place to place to conduct rituals, and often triggers various anomalous phenomena. For detailed records, refer to the archives. Some say the site is actually inside a massive living being, but its true nature remains unknown. Its form and capacity differ depending on the sect. Some can host only a handful of believers, while others accommodate tens of thousands. There are even ritual sites meant for only one. In short, this was one of the final ritual sites operated by the Happy Ending sect. We really landed in the heart of the Mimicker sect, and I'm sure of it now. These people are all completely insane. The Mimicker sect isn't like the SDR, trying to maintain reason and emotion, trying to stay human. Even this somber ritual, which at a glance looked like a sincere memorial, was no different. They killed them all themselves, and likely their own relatives. To be accepted as a lay member of the Happy Ending sect, one must commit at least one murder. The victim must be someone the candidate genuinely wishes happiness for. So this must be the Happy Ending sect's initiation ritual. Unbelievable. That I'm seeing this with my own eyes, totally unnecessary. Now people are stepping forward, sharing who they killed, how wonderful those people were, laughing and crying about it. If I had food in my stomach, I'd have thrown up.
My goodness, I expected more from something calling itself a cult.
Brown said.
Not even a proper cliché. Where are the sacrificial altars, fire goats, and pentagrams so tame and boring? How do they plan to exploit followers with this kind of showmanship?
Brown added. Apparently, it wasn't stimulating enough for our horror-saturated talk show host. Classic Brown commentary. Ha! Come to think of it, didn't he say something earlier before I passed out?
Oh yes, I asked if you needed help, friend.
Brown said.
But since you blacked out too suddenly to answer, I've simply been observing for now.
Brown explained. Fair enough. In any case, I didn't have the mental energy to engage more with this cult freak show, because things were about to get worse.
Be happy.
Now the testimonials were over, and the corpses were being pushed into strange black boxes. Looks like the ritual was ending. They just keep sliding in. Must be some supernatural mechanism. I figured they might be trying to recycle the corpses, So, I stopped them. Right before the coffin, holding Kim Hee-woon could be added.
Happy.
At that moment, everyone conducting the ritual turned to look at me. A bizarre creature spewing black smoke with horns. But instead of screaming and fleeing, they simply stared in silence. And then someone whispered.
Authority.
The whisper spreads.
It's an authority.
Who is that?
One of them steps forward, the one who converted me. He blinked at me, then nodded casually.
You want to keep him personally? Got it. That's fine.
Sigh, I unzipped my wrist and placed Kim Hee-woon's corpse into the tattoo drawn across the amorphous flesh. Just to be clear, I did not feel good about that. If I were still my old self, my hands would have been trembling by now. That happy-ending sect executive, who'd been watching me with sparkling eyes, beamed at me.
Anyway, you saw it right. The love paradise orphan you rejected is happy now, too. Welcome to the happy ending sect.
The days inside the happy ending sect's underground bunker were monotonous and bizarre. People took turns leading prayers. New corpses arrived every day. And then, people would passionately explain just how good each of those dead had been in life, and why they deserved a happy ending. Others would listen, shedding tears, smiling, applauding. The corpses were crammed into black boxes. It was the portrait of a mad little society, repulsive and deranged, yet eerily peaceful amongst themselves.
Classic cult behavior.
Cruelty and lunacy, wrapped in a tight bubble of artificial warmth. The believers were oddly kind. They treated one another warmly, intimately. They called each other family. Inside an underground survival bunker, sealed off from the world.
That, too, is part of the art of governance.
Brown transmitted.
A sense of solidarity and belonging, routine structure. Those are the things that make people unable to leave a group.
Right, maybe that's to be expected, but...
It still feels like something's missing.
Brown asked. The details. The little elements that make such irrationality function. For instance, in most cults, you'd expect some shared symbolic behavior during rituals.
Drinking a certain potion, holding a branch, mimicking animal sounds.
Some minor act shared only among themselves. A blend of the mystical, the symbolic, and the simple. Something that builds religious identity.
Same with clothing.
Usually there's some uniformity, a single color scheme, or a common decoration. But here, inside this bunker, everyone's just wearing casual clothes. There's no visible sign of initiation. Even the school uniform worn by that executive, it's symbolic if seen as a horror motif, but not particularly out of place in casual wear either.
Honestly, if they all wore uniforms, it would have made the creepiness land harder.
But with only the executive wearing it, it feels disjointed.
How do they build group identity then?
To think this inhuman cult is sustained solely by the concepts of name, nim, and happiness, is it really just? Get brainwashed by name, nim, kill someone, and that's it.
Oh, what an insightful critique.
Brown transmitted.
My friends should consider forming a cult of their own. Your performance on the train as a prophet was most compelling. Might I propose something radical? Let us found one together. I'd even grant permission to use this plush-bodied Brown as your cult symbol.
Thanks, but I'll pass for now. Anyway, to be honest, all those missing details, they feel like gaps in the wiki.
Like someone forgot to set the parameters.
Too much focus on visceral horror and shock value, without any of the real-world grounding that gives stories weight. And that's usually where the story's foundations come from.
The Happy Ending sect was one of the most recently added mimicker factions on the wiki, wasn't it?
Maybe that explains it. In hindsight, I almost wish we'd ended up in an older sect.
Like the Garden of Praise cult?
But I let go of the thought. Better this numb, vaguely disturbed state than being emotionally wrecked.
Better this than real horror, real disgust.
Let's just be grateful it's not worse. I sat there, breathing a sigh at the sloppy balancing act, slowly adjusting to the grotesque and chilling scenes, the nausea in my gut.
Your critique is sharp indeed, but Noru.
Brown transmitted.
Have you ever considered that some cults don't reveal their true nature unless you become part of the inner circle?
So you're saying only by joining can I witness the real thing?
Yeah, no thanks.
No one had pressured me over the last couple of days to swallow a blank scripture page and gain the mimicker sect's authority. No cryptic hints, no veiled coercion, which, in any other cult, would actually feel even more ominous, like a deliberately constructed calm.
Maybe they think I'm not just a contaminated human, but a ghost story in itself, so they're playing the long game.
I even asked Ho Yu One, but he shook his head.
No, nothing like that happened to me either.
All right.
But honestly, there's not much intel to find here. Still, Still, it's convenient that we're allowed to roam separately like this, isn't it?
True, the happy ending sect had assigned us well, given us both living quarters within the same zone. Dome-shaped chambers, linked like an anthill. Authority zone, not like the clustered, minimal spaces given to new initiates, just enough for basic survival. No, this zone was different. Set apart, spacious, empty, independent. Like they were giving us our own territory. Even the rooms had no CCTV, just bare, sealed-off chambers.
Like a lion's enclosure, perhaps.
Brown transmitted.
The living quarters of doomsday survivors tucked underground.
Aside from our personal rooms, the rest of the authority zone seemed unoccupied, except for the twins in school uniforms.
Authority zone. I think the Mimicker sect refers to supernatural anomalies as authorities, right?
Yes. Now that you mention it, question, what does Ho-Yu-1 know about the Mimicker sect?
Enough to get by. I read a few experimental logs that mentioned it at Yuko Research Lab.
Ah.
The name of the god worshipped by a certain cult whose belief system developed from earlier research was used as the subtitle for that project.
The experiment log I saw by the incubator when I woke up. It seems Ho-Yu-1 uncovered more traces in the lab's deeper levels.
An extreme religious sect that's darkness and aspires to become darkness. Rapidly expanding in influence. Seemed like the perfect place to extract the kind of info we'd missed. And also,
Ho-Yu-1 met my gaze.
The experiment log that created you, Norunim, it said the project name came from this cult's god. So I'm curious what your connection is to this religion. Though don't worry, that's not a question. Then let me ask something else. Norunim.
The topic cut off by the elevator incident. That obsessive question.
How do you know about Segwang Special City?
Phew.
Yeah, I can't say I read it on the wiki.
I had no choice. A response was unavailable. The system prompted him to substitute with a different question. Ho-Yuan's smile faded. For a split second, he just stared blankly at me. Then, like flipping a switch, he smiled again.
You can't answer, I see. I'll remember that, Norunim.
No follow-up. The question ended with a vague unease. That evening, we finally experienced something that passed as an ordinary event. Something that made sense in terms of daily life detail. The happy ending sect's dinner time. Let us spread happiness. May Name Nim's gaze fall upon us. Here, every morning and evening, all residents were required to eat together, no exceptions. Even those contaminated by ghost stories like us had to sit among the new initiates. I was seated directly across from the school-uniformed executive's sigh.
At this point, they'd probably call it a happy ending, even if we killed an initiate.
I resisted the urge to sigh aloud. Soon the meal began. Seated in silence, I looked up at the bunker walls, bare cement, exposed beams, then down at the food, canned goods.
Can't eat?
I so you asked. I turned. The executive in uniform leaned her chin on one hand, staring at me. Then she nudged the boy beside her, identical to her.
Hey, what do you think dragons eat?
He shrugged. She slapped him lightly on the back and turned to me with a bright smile.
We should introduce ourselves. Introductions are important. I'm ICU and this is Isib and we're twins. I'm the older sister.
She grinned.
Some people call me Isiu in a Chungcheong province accent.
She was so cheerful, which only made it more disturbing. This was the same person who'd killed, brainwashed, and tried to abduct people with hallucinations, acting like an ordinary upbeat teenager. And the casualness with which she dropped her real name in a ghost story only made it worse, and
they really were twins.
Now I knew. They were the twins who'd appeared in several happy ending sex stories. I'd even seen them in YouTube thumbnails. First time I'd heard their names, though.
Do you eat weird stuff, like people's brains or maybe livers?
Honestly, in this setting, they just looked like ordinary high schoolers. So I hesitated, then finally asked,
"Why the school uniforms?"
Oh, this?
She tilted her head.
You're curious?
She rolled across the table. Her long hair, tied in a red ribbon, wriggled on the tablecloth like a snake.
Are you really curious? Curious why I wear this really curious?
No, I'm good. Polite dinner conversation escape tactic.
Got it.
Please just let it go. Being around crazy people means there's never a warning. I'm going to mentally burn out before I even figure out how to disguise myself as human again. Everything's exhausting, overwhelming. And then a thunk sounded.
Oh dear.
To my right. An old woman dining next to Ho-Yu-1 accidentally bumped his arm and spilled her cup of water, soaked his sleeve.
Are you all right?
But instead of checking the spill, Ho-Yu-1 immediately helped steady her, cleared the table. Dabbed her clothes, Ho-Yu-1, doing all that?
What a kind person.
He's a good person.
I felt it. Eyes from all directions. Murmurs around every table as people watched Ho-Yu-1's actions. That evening he sat with the old woman, chatting softly, then eventually invited her into his assigned quarters.
I'll tell you a fun story.
No one stopped him.
Oh,
Brown transmitted.
you can feel the anticipation in the audience.
Yes, anticipation. The cult executive Isoyu, who introduced herself, whispered to us as we passed.
If you're going to make Kimbokja grandma happy, tell us in the morning, okay? We need to prepare the ritual.
My stomach turned, but I didn't stop Ho Yu-won. He must be doing this for intel, and if something went wrong, I'd intervene. So, I followed at a distance as Ho Yu-won gently escorted the old woman toward his assigned room and entered behind them, thud. But the moment I closed the door and leaned against it, Ho Yu-won let go of the elderly woman he was supporting and stepped back, and the old woman straightened her back and stood tall, completely upright. She spat out something round like a glass marble that had been in her mouth. The object began to shift form, solidifying, a cold, sharp expression. Eyes like a hawk's, a pale face, cropped blue hair, someone I knew. It was Deputy Manager Yoon Hajai. Wait a second, what the hell is going on? For a moment, my brain refused to process it. Then, like a lightning bolt, I realized. No wonder he was helping the old woman. Deputy Manager Yoon Hajai had infiltrated this happy-ending sect facility in disguise as the elderly woman. And there was only one bastard who could have ordered that. Ho Yu-won.
Seriously? You sent someone in and now you show up yourself?
Oh, no, just coincidence. I didn't expect to run into you like this.
Right, of course. Total coincidence.
Deputy Manager Yoon Hajai flopped to the floor, then looked like she wanted to punch Ho Yu-won in the face. But upon noticing the bruises her eyes lit up.
Executive, are you injured?
Ah, this person here has a bit of a heavy hand.
How pathetic.
Brown transmitted. Exactly. As Ho Yu-won gestured toward me, Deputy Manager Yoon Hajai glanced in my direction too. She looked stunned for a second, but then took a breath and asked calmly.
Aren't you from the security team?
I am, and actually Songome Nim knows me too.
Her eyes darkened. It was like she was recalling the list of exploration team staff she'd worked with, and imagining what had become of them. But before that line of thought could even finish, Ho Yu-won cut in again.
It's been a while, hasn't it? This is Noru Nim.
Deputy Manager Eun Hajai froze. Her gaze fully shifted from Ho Yu-won to me, and her mouth opened.
Noru?
Yes, Deputy Manager. I used smoke to form the letters. It's okay. I was doing better now than when I met the other security team members. At least I was thinking clearly, and I wasn't locked in a solitary isolation chamber anymore. To meet her at eye level, I carefully sat down near the door, trying my best to speak in the way I used to. I messed up, and it turned into this, but it'll be okay. I'm working on finding a way to recover. She looked at the floor. Her face was hidden by her hair, so I couldn't seize her expression for a moment. Then she lifted her head and met my eyes again. Her expression was calm, utterly composed, not a flicker of agitation.
Of course you'll recover. Hey, going through some freak side effects from contact with darkness? That's how you know you're a real Bakelmong employee.
Then she tapped my arm, cloaked in black smoke.
You're a smart one. I'm sure you'll figure something out. Start thinking now about what you'll do once you're back to normal.
Thank you.
No need for thanks. Hell, if I want to smoke, I might as well stand next to you from now on.
That's probably not a good idea. Anyway, she grumbled about how she couldn't smoke while disguised like this, and we caught up a little about what had happened since. It was brief, but honestly a good moment. When I mentioned I'd worked with Assistant Manager Park Min-seong, a faint smile even crept onto her face. Of course, it vanished again the moment we returned to the topic at hand.
Songo Mei Si. I didn't summon you here just to have a friendly chat with Noru Nim.
Apologies.
She apologized immediately, but her expression clearly said, "And what are you going to do about it, brat?" Huh. They're weirdly comfortable with each other now. I was worried after that guy hijacked Deputy Manager Yoon Hajai's body last time, but it seemed like she was still being herself. Still, I'll need to double-check later. But for now, Deputy Manager, were you ordered to infiltrate this place by Executive Ho?
Yeah, it's been a pain in the gas. Had to drag back a corpse, too.
She muttered that she'd only infiltrated cults twice before, back when she was a journalist.
What kind of nonsense is this? Some underground bunker worshipping darkness, murdering people left and right. Happy ending, my ass. They should try giving themselves a happy ending instead of screwing with everyone else.
Every word she said was correct. But if this place is just holding new initiates, won't it be hard to get intel here?
Nah, it's exactly during initiation rituals that the real info leaks out.
Huh?
These cult types, once they think they've got to someone, they start showing their true colors. That's how it always is.
She grinned.
And if they're going to do that, they'll have prepped for it, right? I'm sure there's something hidden in this facility. Which means...
All of that's good and well, Songo must see. But I hope you haven't forgotten the actual purpose of your mission.
Ho Yu-1 cut her off again.
Did you find anything about Saegwang's special city?
Are you really just gonna say that in front of him? Anyway, to find that kind of info here, we need to understand what these people are doing. That'll give us the foundation for,
She made a face like she was disgusted with everything.
Just wait a bit. You're the one who sent me here, because you already confirmed that I'd find info about Saegwang's special city, right?
Future, something clicked in my mind. Just before I boarded the Tamra-bound train, Deputy Manager Ayun Hajai had rushed into my dorm and said, "You'll be declared dead on January 2nd. I saw it in a future-revealing darkness. If she learned that through one of Ho Yu-1's projects, then his actions make sense now. He'd already confirmed it. That Yun Hajai would uncover info about Saegwang's special city from within the Name cult. And now more realizations hit. Wait, did he deliberately get himself recruited as a new believer? Just to infiltrate too? With his position as an executive, it wouldn't be surprising if he caught wind of something the day before, and prepared accordingly. That would explain why the happy ending sect didn't cause more casualties during their attack, and why they were able to infiltrate the Baekilmong HQ's basement so smoothly. He must have used some trick to pull guards from their posts in advance, so they could enter without resistance. And of course he dragged me into it too. And I wasn't thrilled about that, but more than that. What kind of darkness shows the future, the accuracy? Darknesses are paranormal phenomena. The stronger they are, the more dangerous and incomprehensible. So what is Ho Yu-1 using?
What is the future-revealing darkness?
I asked.
Was that a question for me? Strange. I'm pretty sure the Q&A session ended back when it was my turn to ask.
Damn it.
Noranim, I don't think you're authorized to ask questions until I say so.
Me in a gas mask and Ho Yu-1 smiling. We stared at each other in silence. Deputy Manager Yoon Hajai looked back and forth between us, wondering what the hell was going on. Eventually, she just shrugged and said, "Well, now that we've got more people, it'll be easier. If Noru and the executive help with the search too."
Search?
Yeah, I was planning to get a feel for this facility's layout anyway, but,
She shrugged again.
Even if this bunker itself is darkness, there has to be some kind of entrance, right? Some passage that leads to the surface.
That made sense. Paranormal spaces usually have an exit back to reality. If you came in, there must be a way out. Even if this bunker isn't fixed in one physical location, it must be temporarily connected to somewhere. The initiates here probably wouldn't know, since they woke up here unconscious, but someone higher up in the hierarchy would. Like those twins.
Also those two creepy twins in school uniforms. They're never at the cafeteria during meals.
Deputy Manager Yoon Hajai added that they were probably doing something other than managing initiates. Anyway, the point was, if we could find a hint about the exit, we could use that to trace toward the core. In cults, they always keep the most valuable stuff farthest from the entrance, deep inside the inner sanctum. Of course, if things go south, we'll need to escape too. Ho Yu-1 didn't object, and I thought about it for a moment, then offered my input. Then maybe there's some kind of observation device near that area, something to look outside with.
Ooh, could be.
Actually, I was sure of it. The wiki entries about the final sanctum of the happy ending sect mentioned devices that let people see the outside world. No way they'd put that kind of thing near the new initiates, show them the outside too soon, and the brainwashing effect wears off. So it had to be somewhere away from the living areas, higher elevation, easy for insiders to check, which meant
this place.
Authority zone. With its high ceilings and ant nest layout, this part of the facility likely sat closest to the surface. We made a cautious plan to explore it without being seen by the twins.
Perfect. With both of you helping, it'll be easier for this old lady to move around too.
Deputy Manager Inhaje swallowed the glass marble again. A short time later.
Here.
We found it. At the far end of the authority zone. An empty section. A small round hatch was mounted high on the ceiling.
Glass.
And when we opened it, there was a fixed device inside, like a small telescope, designed to let someone peek outside.
Noru, want to take a look?
Gladly, I rose lightly in my cloak of smoke and floated up, pressed my eye to the exposed glass scope, a palm-sized field of blurry glass revealed.
Noru?
I looked again. But the view didn't change. Old homes, mountains, telephone poles, dirt roads, traditional Hanok houses. It was Jisan Village. This happy ending sect final sanctum, was located directly beneath Baek's Sihyeon's childhood home.